Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. It's Luke Kelsall here from Growing Nature. Today I'm going to be showing you how I prepare my beds for next year. So let's get into the video. So as you can see, I've got two clear beds behind me. I made these last year. This used to actually be a really tall weed patch. I decided to turn that into two ground beds like these here, which looks nice and neat now. Really, it's very easy to do that. All I did was smother the ground with whatever grass clippings, cardboard, wood chips around the side, and then put compost on top, homemade compost. If you haven't actually already made your beds, now is the perfect time to do that, because it's good heading into winter to get a few months where the soil can settle and start to form a structure, so next year they're more ready to plant in rather than planting in freshly laid compost. So it's really very easy to make the beds, but once you've done that, now it's about preparing them heading into winter so they're better to plant in next year. So most gardeners now would say heading into winter, it's the perfect time to dig over your beds. That is absolutely the last thing you want to do. It takes years to build 1 inch of topsoil, and as soon as you dig over that soil, you've just destroyed all that progress. I've already talked about this a lot on my channel before, how the soil has a really delicate structure, and you do not want to disturb that, because that is what helps your plants grow and thrive. So it's all about working with nature and layering on top of the ground like you would in nature. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today in the garden. I've got two beds, and I've collected loads of leaves that are naturally falling in nature now and layering everywhere on the ground. So all I'm going to do is take them leaves and repeat the process that's happening in nature on these beds here by layering leaves. I collected these yesterday, basically on the lawn. Leaves falling off trees. I shredded them up because then it helps them decompose better. And then got some really nice shredded leaves like this. The reason leaves are so good though as well is because obviously they break down a lot faster compared to wood chips and other layers and covering. So leaves, basically by next year in spring, they'll have already mostly broken down and added all the nutrients and fertilised the ground. It's just a free material that nature's providing everywhere right now. So just take advantage of what you've been given. Not only are leaves really good for breaking down and fertilising the ground, it's also a really good covering of protection to the ground. Heading into winter, it's really important to have the ground covered so it's protected. It also helps to suppress any weeds that might decide to come up in winter. It's just an extra little barrier, and the following year, if there's still some on the ground, which there probably will be, it saves you from watering as much, because it again protects the soil and keeps the moisture under the ground. It's all about using the covering. This is what I'm talking about a lot on this channel. How everywhere in nature is using the same principle now, and the results in nature are amazing. Look at every single forest in the world. No one's going fertilising the ground. The best fertiliser for them trees is the leaves, and leaves are falling for free on the ground, layering, decomposing, and you only have to walk out into forest to see how good the soil is. Go anywhere, any park, any wood you find, and just look at the ground and just move the soil and the dead leaves aside on the top, and just see how good the soil looks. Gardeners would strive to achieve something like that in their own garden, that perfect black compost, but it's just forming and building for free in nature. I've actually noticed this in my own garden. The best soil that I've found anywhere in the garden is actually under this area here, which I can't even get a wheelbarrow to layer anything on. And that's because all these leaves and these raspberry plants, there's a tree behind there and there's also a wildflower bush, they drop the leaves in the fall, and then it's just been decomposed in the last few years by itself on the ground, adding its own covering. And this covering in there, the soil structure with the soil quality, is absolutely amazing. You move your hands aside, and I wish I could just plant in it, but I can't. Well, this is what I'm saying. Nature is creating the best compost, the best growing material that you can possibly get anywhere. You can't even import quality that good. You can't import soil that good into your own beds, yet it's just happening by itself here. And it's just proves how easy it can be to build soil and actually have amazing soil, which gardeners strive for, in your own garden effortlessly, like this. So now I'm just going to add the leaves to the top of soil and just create that natural barrier that's happening in nature everywhere. Like I said, I did get these leaves yesterday from the garden, shredded them up. You can let them decompose a lot more if you want before you put them on the garden, but because it's happening now in nature, it's just easier just to get them straight off the lawn onto the garden like this. So as you can see, I've laid down quite a lot of leaves. I've done it quite thick. That's okay because obviously it's going to decompose quite quickly and it compresses down, especially when it starts to rain on the leaves. If they haven't fully decomposed by the following spring, which they probably won't have, you can just rake away any excess you want to plant in. But again, it's just going to provide a natural weed barrier, protect the ground, which is really important because you don't want to leave the ground exposed, especially going into winter. You want to have it protected, building soil, fertilising, so when it comes to fall and spring, the beds are healthier and ready to plant in straight away. That's why it's always best to prepare your beds now for next year rather than thinking spring, I want a new bed, I'm going to put it in now. It's a bit too late then because the ground hasn't settled and it hasn't had a chance to form the soil structure that's needed to help your plants thrive. So it's really very easy. Like I said, all you do is get some shredded leaves that you can find anyway. If you don't have your own leaves, you can order in leaf mulch, but it's easier obviously it's free having your own leaves. And if you don't have your own garden, you can just collect them from like a wood, go and steal some leaves. But like I said, it's a very, very good natural process and it really does help to build the best soil in the garden. So as you can see, when I look to grow food, I always observe what's happening in nature because this is usually how you get the best results. Look into nature for the answer in terms of how everything around you is thriving easily by itself with no maintenance is key to having a successful food forest because you really want it to be self-maintaining. You don't want to be having to put in loads of manual labour because it's not happening in the forests around even though they're thriving. So you want to replicate and look to nature as much as possible for the answers and apply the same principles like this in your own garden. So hopefully it gives you good insight of what you can use in your own garden. Like I say, free material like leaves happen everywhere right now. You put it on the bed ready for the winter. Hopefully it inspires you to create a more natural, permaculture food forest like this one where you really are working with nature rather than against it. And hopefully I've inspired some people to start growing food because this is what I'm really about on this channel. I want to get people into growing food for the right reasons and get them back in touch with where the food comes from because I think it's so important and it's a lost skill. I think growing food is really undervalued in today's world. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and look forward to you in the next one.